Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. If you're the kind of person who geeks out on optimizing your workflow and figuring out how your brain actually works, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're unpacking some incredibly fascinating source material about a phenomenon we literally all experience but rarely actually understand: task paralysis. We're going to explore exactly why our brains just completely stall out when faced with a heavy workload, and more importantly, how a system called Untangle is completely rethinking the solution. Let's get right to it.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Why on earth do we freeze up? I want you to visualize that visceral feeling. You're sitting at your desk, you have a mountain of work, the clock is ticking, and instead of furiously typing away, you're just staring blankly at your screen. You know you need to work, you actively want to get it done, but you physically and mentally cannot seem to just start. So, why does that happen?
10 things to do, 1 hour vanishes. 0 things done. Seriously, you sit down with a huge list, and several of those items feel incredibly urgent. But instead of starting, you freeze. You pick up your phone, you start reorganizing your to-do list by color for the 5th time, or maybe you suddenly decide your desk absolutely needs to be spotless right this second. An hour vanishes, and literally 0 things got done. Look, if you're nodding your head right now, I want to empathetically validate your experience here. This is not laziness. This is absolutely not a motivation problem.
So the crucial point is this: what you're actually experiencing is essentially a system crash. The intent to work is absolutely there, but your execution mechanism has simply stalled out. When everything on your plate feels equally urgent, your brain tries to simultaneously process the importance, the individual steps, and, crucially, the emotional weight of every single task at exactly the same time. The result? A totally blank mind in front of a very full plate. The computer has officially frozen.
Which brings us to part 1. Why productivity tools fail.
I mean, if task paralysis is this universal human experience, why haven't our apps and planners fixed it yet? Well, because they assume your bottleneck is a lack of organization. And this brilliantly illustrates the point. Handing an overwhelmed person a typical to-do app is exactly like handing them a highly detailed topographical map of Mount Everest before they've even managed to tie their hiking boots. It's just way too much, way too soon. Existing tools generally fall into 2 major traps. On one side, we have pure storage tools, think Todoist or Things. Don't get me wrong, they're great, but they inherently assume you already know exactly what to do and in what perfect logical order. On the other side, we have hyper-flexible workspaces like Notion. These offer infinite possibilities, which immediately triggers blank page anxiety. Do you see the common thread here? Both of these options demand organization before execution. The moment an app demands that you categorize tasks when your brain is already overwhelmed, it instantly loses you. Now, you might be thinking, hey, what about AI? Can I just ask an AI to organize my day? Well, even AI chat tools fall pretty short here. Asking ChatGPT to break down a heavy task will absolutely give you a great logical plan. But at the end of the day, it's just text in a window. You still have to take that plan, transfer it into your calendar, put it in your task system, and manage the actual execution yourself. For someone who is already maxed out, that transfer step is pure cognitive friction. It's really just another chore. All right, let's move into part 2, the Untangle workflow. So, if traditional apps and basic AI text generation aren't the answer, what actually is? Untangle approaches this by introducing a built-in AI mentor named Aaron, and by deliberately skipping forced organization entirely. Step 1 is the messy brain dump. You simply speak or type out everything on your mind: the looming deadlines, the vague worries, the unfinished emails, with zero need to organize, tag, or prioritize any of it. Step 2, Aaron silently turns that chaotic dump into a realistic, time-boxed plan in the background. And step 3, this is the real magic trick: it feeds you just one single micro-step. Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer scale of that step 3 micro-step. Instead of handing back a broad, heavy instruction like prepare the presentation, which we all know triggers that system crash we talked about earlier, it gives you one highly actionable micro-step. Open the presentation and write the title. That's it, just that one single thing. It completely bypasses the brain's natural tendency to panic over the big picture.
Moving on to part 3, managing minds, not projects.
What Untangle is fundamentally doing here is recognizing that the barrier isn't your project, the barrier is you. The key concept to understand here is mental activation energy. Basically, think of it as the psychological effort required just to begin a task. Untangle works by drastically, deliberately lowering this energy. By taking your messy brain dump and converting it into tiny, bite-sized micro steps, the activation energy drops to near zero.
And it doesn't just give you a list, it actually stays with you, guiding you through focused work sessions, literally one tiny step at a time. I absolutely love this vivid analogy from the source material. It perfectly contrasts passive AI wrappers with an active, guided workflow. Using a traditional tool or a standard AI chat is kind of like someone emailing you a complex workout PDF. Sure, the information is all there, but you have to motivate yourself to actually go do it. Untangle is like a personal trainer, physically walking you to the machine, adjusting the seat for you, and physically handing you the very first weight. It completely removes the friction of starting.
Which brings us to the central thesis of this entire explainer, captured so perfectly in this quote. The product isn't trying to manage your project, it's managing your psychology. Seriously, if you take away only one thing from this explainer today, let it be this. Treating task paralysis as a psychological barrier rather than some structural or organizational one is the ultimate key to unlocking your productivity. When you finally stop fighting your brain and start lowering that activation energy, execution just naturally happens.
So, I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative question to reflect on. Take a look at your own workflow, your own to-do lists, and your daily habits. Are you managing your projects, or are your projects managing your psychology? If you constantly find yourself color-coding instead of actually completing tasks, it might just be time to stop organizing the chaos and start focusing on that very first tiny micro step.